My name is Thomas Miller. I am 64 years old, and 3 months ago, I won $15 million in the state lottery. The winning ticket sits between the pages of my father's Bible, pressed flat against Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The irony isn't lost on me. I want for nothing now, yet I've never felt more empty. The apartment around me tells a different story. Peeling wallpaper curls at the edges like old photographs. The kitchen faucet drips a steady rhythm that counts the seconds of my loneliness. My arthritic hands shake as I reach for the phone, not from the disease that gnaws at my joints, but from the weight of what I'm about to do. Pride is a luxury I can no longer afford. My prescription bottles sit empty on the counter, their white caps staring at me like accusatory eyes. Lisinopril for my blood pressure, metformin for diabetes, meloxicam for the arthritis that turns simple tasks into small tortures, all empty, all expensive, all necessary to keep this old body running for whatever time I have left. The grocery money ran out on Tuesday. It's Friday now, and my stomach has stopped growling. It just aches with a hollow persistence that matches my heart. I dial Sarah's number with fingers that fumble on the keypad. Hello? Her voice comes through crisp and clear, carrying the confidence of someone whose biggest worry is which restaurant to choose for dinner. Sarah, it's Dad. The words stick in my throat like sawdust. Oh, hi, Dad. I'm actually pretty busy right now. Can this be quick? I close my eyes and picture her in that house I helped her buy. The down payment came from my retirement savings, $15,000 I'd planned to use for my own future. She promised it was temporary help. That was 7 years ago. I need a small favor, sweetheart, just until my Social Security check comes in next week. The silence stretches long enough for me to hear her television in the background. Some cooking show where celebrity chefs laugh about $1,000 ingredients while I'm trying to find the courage to ask my own daughter for grocery money. What kind of favor? Her tone shifts, becoming the voice she uses for telemarketers and door-to-door salesmen. I'm having trouble with expenses this month. My medications ran out, and I haven't eaten since Wednesday. Could you help me with $200 for groceries? Just until... Her laughter cuts through the phone line like broken glass, sharp and sudden, and utterly without warmth. Are you serious right now? She's not asking a question. She's expressing disbelief that borders on disgust. Dad, I'm not your personal ATM. The words hit me like a physical blow. I grip the edge of my kitchen table, its formica surface worn smooth by decades of meals eaten alone. Get a job, old man, Sarah continues, her voice growing stronger with each cruel word. I'm tired of supporting you. Find someone else to be your personal ATM. The dial tone echoes in my empty kitchen. The phone slips from my hand and clatters onto the table next to the lottery ticket that could buy her house 100 times over. I sit in the growing darkness, surrounded by memories that feel like evidence in a trial I'm losing. The college tuition I paid when I worked double shifts at the factory, my back screaming from 16-hour days. The wedding I funded by selling my father's watch, the only thing of value he'd left me. The mortgage down payment that emptied my retirement account because she cried about being homeless. $127,000 over 20 years. I'd calculated it once, late at night when sleep wouldn't come, and regret felt like a weight on my chest. Every sacrifice documented in bank statements and canceled checks. Every promise she made to pay me back, forgotten as soon as her crisis passed. And now she won't spare $200 to keep her father from starving. I open the Bible and touch the lottery ticket with reverence, usually reserved for holy relics. The numbers are burned into my memory. 7, 14, 23, 35, 42, and the Powerball 18. 7 was Sarah's birth date. 14 was her age when her mother left us. The others were random picks, or so I thought at the time. Tomorrow, Forbes magazine publishes their annual list of America's newest millionaires. I submitted the paperwork months ago, back when winning felt like a blessing instead of a secret I carried like a stone in my chest. The photographer came last week, capturing me in this same kitchen, sitting at this same table. They wanted the humble winner story, the grandfather who stayed grounded despite sudden wealth. If only they knew the whole truth. My phone sits silent on the table, still warm from Sarah's rejection. In less than 12 hours, her friends will start calling. Her co-workers will see the article. Her neighbors will knock on her door with questions and congratulations meant for the father she just called a burden. When she sees my name ranked among America's wealthiest, she'll finally understand what she threw away for $200. But tonight, I'm just a broken old man she couldn't be bothered to help. The lottery ticket catches the last light filtering through my kitchen window, and for a moment, it looks like gold. The secret burns in my chest, patient as a slow fuse, waiting for tomorrow's revelation. The secret that burned in my chest all night erupts into the world at exactly 6:02 a.m. My phone buzzes against the nightstand, pulling me from restless sleep. The notification banner glows like a neon sign in my dark bedroom. Forbes alert, America's newest lottery millionaires. My finger hovers over the screen, trembling. Not from the arthritis this time, but from pure anticipation. 3 months of silence are about to end with the loudest possible announcement. I tap the notification. There I am. Thomas Miller, 64. Photographed in this very kitchen where Sarah rejected me 12 hours ago. The headline reads, "The humble winner, lottery millionaire still lives in modest apartment." Below my weathered face, the numbers that will change everything. Net worth, $15.2 million. The phone slips from my hands onto the rumpled bedsheets. For a moment, I can't breathe. The secret I've carried like a stone in my chest for 3 months is now public knowledge, shared with the world while my own daughter sleeps, unaware that her broke old man just became famous. I stare at the ceiling, listening to my heartbeat count the seconds until Sarah's world shifts on its axis. The morning light creeps through my thin curtains, and somewhere in the city, early risers are reading about the lottery winner who chose dignity over luxury, humility over flash. If only they knew the real story. By 7 a.m., my landline rings for the first time in weeks. The sound cuts through my apartment like a fire alarm, urgent and demanding. Mrs. Henderson from next door, her voice bright with the kind of excitement usually reserved for grandchildren's birthdays. "Thomas? I just saw the news online." Oh my goodness, $15 million. Her genuine joy cuts through my cynicism like sunlight through storm clouds. Here's a woman who brings me homemade soup when I'm sick, who checks on me during winter storms when the heat struggles to warm my old bones, who never asked for anything but friendship. Her happiness for my good fortune feels pure, untainted by greed or calculation. "I always knew you were special," she continues, her words warming parts of my heart I'd forgotten exist. "The way you helped my grandson with his math homework every Tuesday, never asking for anything in return. The way you shoveled my walkway after that terrible storm last January. You deserve this, Thomas. You truly do." By 8 a.m., the phone hasn't stopped ringing. My neighbor Frank calls, his voice thick with tears of joy. Then old Henry from the factory where we worked side by side for 30 years, breathing in metal dust and dreams deferred. Each conversation follows the same beautiful pattern. Shock, joy, congratulations, then stories about what a good man I've always been. "You remember when my wife was in the hospital with her cancer?" Frank's voice cracks with emotion that spans decades. "You drove me there every single day for 2 weeks, never complained about the gas money or the time. Sat with me in that waiting room when the doctors gave us the bad news. That's the kind of man you are, Thomas. This couldn't happen to a better person." The warmth of their words fills my kitchen like morning sunlight, chasing away the shadows of last night's rejection. These people, my real family, see my worth without a dollar sign attached. But one phone stays silent. Sarah's number never appears on my caller ID, and with each passing hour, her absence grows louder than all the congratulations combined, pulling me into memories that taste like betrayal. I find myself staring at the old photo albums scattered across my kitchen table, their plastic pages yellowed with time and disappointment. Here's Sarah at 7 years, 7, old, gap-toothed and giggling, climbing into my lap after her mother walked out with nothing but a suitcase and a note that said, "I can't do this anymore. Daddy, I'll take care of you when you're old," she had whispered that night, her small arms wrapped around my neck like a promise. "I'll never leave you like Mommy did." The memory cuts deeper now, sharpened by last night's cruelty. "Get a job, old man. I'm not your personal ATM." I flip the page. Sarah at 16, tears streaming down her face because I couldn't afford the prom dress she'd been dreaming about for months. It was a beautiful thing, displayed in the boutique window like a fairy tale waiting to happen. $300 might as well have been $3 million back then. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," I'd told her, my heart breaking as her dreams shattered in real time. "Maybe we can find something at the discount store." But her tears haunted my sleep for weeks. I picked up extra shifts at the factory, working doubles until my back screamed and my hands bled from the metal work. 16-hour days for 2 months straight, my body paying the price for her happiness. When I surprised her with that dress, her joy felt worth every ache, every sacrifice, every dollar I didn't spend on myself. "You're the best daddy in the whole world," she'd said, spinning in front of my bedroom mirror. "I love you so much." The photograph stares back at me now, mocking those words with the echo of yesterday's rejection. The girl who once promised to take care of me couldn't spare $200 to keep me fed. My phone buzzes again. Another congratulatory call from another neighbor, another person who sees my worth without needing a Forbes article to confirm it. But the weight of Sarah's silence grows heavier with each passing hour until it becomes something else entirely, something calculating. By noon, the congratulations have turned into interview requests. Channel 7 News wants to feature the humble lottery winner. The local newspaper asks for a follow-up story about my plans for the money. A morning radio show invites me on to discuss my inspiring story of staying grounded despite sudden wealth. I decline them all politely, but each request hammers home the same truth. Yesterday, I was invisible. Today, I'm newsworthy. Yesterday, Sarah couldn't be bothered to help her starving father. Today, the entire city wants to celebrate the millionaire she refused to recognize. My phone screen shows 17 missed calls from numbers I don't recognize. Probably distant relatives who suddenly remember they have a cousin named Thomas. Old co-workers who want to catch up over lunch. Maybe a few investment advisors and financial planners who smell opportunity in my lottery fortune. But Sarah's name never appears on that list. I set the phone down and stare at the photo albums still spread across my table. 20 years of sacrifices documented in faded pictures and bitter memories. The college graduation where she thanked everyone except the man who paid for her education. The wedding where she seated me with strangers while her stepfather walked her down the aisle. The housewarming party for the home I helped her buy, where she introduced me as just my dad, like I was an afterthought instead of her foundation. The hurt I felt last night shifts into something colder, more analytical. Sarah hasn't called because she doesn't know yet. She's probably at work, busy with her successful career funded by my sacrifices, oblivious to the fact that her broke old man just became one of America's newest millionaires. But she'll find out soon enough. Someone will tell her. A friend will see the article, a co-worker will mention it, or she'll stumble across it herself during her lunch break. When she does, she'll call. Not to apologize, but to explain. Not to make amends, but to position herself for whatever she thinks she can get from my sudden fortune. I close the photo albums and stack them neatly on the counter, my movements deliberate and calm. The hurt has transformed completely now, crystallizing into something that feels almost like anticipation. For the first time since winning the lottery, I'm curious to see what happens next. My phone sits silent on the kitchen table, waiting for the call that will reveal exactly who my daughter really is. But as the afternoon stretches into evening, that silence becomes an answer all its own. I find myself drawn to the old photo albums stacked in my bedroom closet, their fake leather covers cracked like broken promises. These dusty relics hold 24 years of memories, and suddenly, I need to examine them like evidence in a crime I'm just beginning to understand. The first album falls open to Sarah's high school graduation. There she is, radiant in her cap and gown, surrounded by friends and family who came to celebrate her achievement. And there I am, barely visible in the background, wearing the cheapest suit I could find at Goodwill because I'd spent my clothing budget on her graduation party. I remember that day with painful clarity now. The restaurant bill alone was $400 for 12 people. Money I didn't have, but borrowed anyway because Sarah wanted to celebrate properly. She'd invited her stepfather's entire family, people who barely knew her but enjoyed free food on my credit card. But in the photograph, I'm not seated at the head table with the family. I'm not in the group shots with the graduates. I'm standing behind everyone else, holding my worn baseball cap, looking like hired help instead of the man who made it all possible. "Dad, could you move back a little?" Sarah had said that day, adjusting her pose for the photographer. "You're blocking Aunt Linda." I moved back. I always moved back. The pattern was there even then, but I was too blind to see it, or maybe too afraid to look. Now, with the Forbes article making headlines and Sarah's silence growing louder by the hour, I'm finally ready to face the truth. I turn the page and find her wedding photos, each image a masterpiece of deliberate exclusion. Sarah glows in white silk and pearls, surrounded by her new stepfamily, who beam with borrowed pride. Her stepfather walks her down the aisle I paid for, toward an altar decorated with flowers from my credit card. The seating chart was her masterpiece of cruelty, disguised as logistics. "Dad, we had to put you at table 9 with some of Mom's distant cousins," she'd explained with practiced sweetness. The immediate family tables were already full. Immediate family. The words still sting 3 years later. Table 9 was in the back corner, behind a decorative column that blocked the view of the ceremony I'd funded. $23,000 for a wedding, where I sat with strangers while her stepfather's brother gave a toast about welcoming Sarah into their loving family. I flip through more photos, and the evidence mounts like prosecutors' exhibits. Every birthday party where I'm cropped out of the group shots. Every Christmas morning where I'm holding the camera instead of being in the pictures. Every milestone celebration where I'm the wallet in the background, never the honored guest. The worst part isn't that I was invisible. The worst part is that I accepted it. I made myself smaller so she could shine brighter, convinced myself that love meant sacrifice without recognition. But as I study these photographs with fresh eyes, I realize something that makes my hands shake with more than arthritis. This wasn't accidental. The exclusion was deliberate, systematic, calculated. Sarah didn't just take my money. She erased my presence from every memory she wanted to keep. I close the album and reach for my financial records, my movements steady and purposeful now. The photographs told one story, but bank statements don't lie or crop out inconvenient truths. The manila folder contains 20 years of financial archaeology, every transaction a fossil of forgotten generosity. I spread the documents across my kitchen table like a detective laying out evidence in a murder case. Because something did die here, I realize. My dignity died 1,000 small deaths, one transaction at a time. College tuition, $85,000 over 4 years. I have the canceled checks, each one representing weeks of overtime shifts at the factory. My signature grows shakier with each payment as arthritis claimed my hands, but I never missed a semester's payment. Not once. "Dad, everyone else's parents are helping them," Sarah had said during her freshman year. "I don't want to be the only one working in the cafeteria." So I worked doubles instead. 16-hour days in the machine shop while she studied literature and went to parties I funded. The irony would be funny if it didn't hurt so much. Wedding expenses, $23,000 in a single year. Flowers, $3,200. Catering, $8,500. Venue, $6,000. Photography, $2,100. Dress alterations, $890. Even the marriage license fee of $35 came from my checking account. Each receipt is time-stamped with my sacrifices. The flower deposit was paid with my Christmas bonus. The catering down payment came from selling my father's tools. The photography fee required me to skip my arthritis medication for 2 months. But there's no receipt for gratitude. No canceled check marked "Thank you." No bank record showing any attempt at repayment. House down payment, $15,000 from my retirement account, cashed out early with penalties that cost me another $3,000. Sarah needed it immediately because the housing market was competitive. "It's just temporary, Dad," she'd promised over dinner at a restaurant I paid for. "Once we refinance, we'll pay you back with interest." That was 7 years ago. The house has probably doubled in value, but my retirement account never recovered. I pull out my calculator, an old plastic thing with sticky buttons that I've owned longer than Sarah has kept any of her promises. The numbers don't lie, even when the people in your life do. $127,000 in total over 20 years. College tuition, wedding expenses, house down payment, car repairs when she was between jobs, emergency loans for medical bills that were never quite emergencies, Christmas gifts that became expectations, birthday money that became obligations. I calculate compound interest for the first time in my life, punching numbers into that old calculator like I'm solving the equation of my own stupidity. If I had invested that $127,000 instead of pouring it into the endless well of Sarah's needs, it would be worth over $300,000 today. I would have been comfortable, maybe even wealthy, years before I ever bought that lottery ticket. But wealth isn't just about money. It's about dignity, respect, acknowledgement. It's about being seen as more than an ATM that dispenses love in $20 bills. I spread the documents wider, creating a timeline of generosity met with silence. Every emergency loan marked temporary, every gift given freely, every sacrifice made without complaint. And not a single thank you note, not one attempt at repayment, not even a phone call on my birthday unless she needed something. The pattern is undeniable now, documented in black ink on white paper. I wasn't Sarah's father. I was her financial backup plan, activated only when her primary sources of income failed her. I was the emergency contact for her bank account, not her heart. My phone buzzes on the table, cutting through my mathematical misery. For one insane moment, my heart leaps. Maybe it's Sarah. Maybe she's finally seen the news. Maybe she's calling to apologize, to explain, to acknowledge the man who gave her everything. I look at the screen. Mrs. Henderson again, probably calling to check if I need anything from the grocery store. Her kindness is genuine, uncomplicated by financial need or familial obligation. I let it go to voicemail and returned to my evidence. These documents will stay spread across my kitchen table tonight. Tomorrow I'll organize them chronologically, create a timeline of unreciprocated generosity that even Sarah can't dispute. Because when she finally calls, and she will call, I want to be ready with more than hurt feelings. I want to be ready with facts. The silence from her phone has become an answer. Now it's time to prepare my response. But first, I need more than kitchen table arithmetic and faded photographs. I need official documentation that even Sarah can't dismiss or deny. The morning air cuts through my worn jacket as I walk to my Honda, its rust-spotted frame a testament to years of choosing her needs over my own maintenance. The car starts on the third try, coughing like an old man with too many regrets. But it gets me to First National Bank, where I've kept my accounts for over 20 years. The building hasn't changed much since I opened my first checking account here in 1998, back when Sarah was still in high school, and I believed her promises had weight. The marble floors echo with the footsteps of customers who probably don't spend their mornings calculating decades of unreciprocated generosity. "Mr. Miller," Maria's voice cuts through the banking hall's quiet murmur. She's been my teller for 15 years, watching my account balance rise and fall with Sarah's crises. Today, her face glows with genuine excitement. "I saw you on the news this morning." "Oh my goodness, $15 million! How exciting!" Her warmth hits me like sunlight after a long winter. Here's someone who knows my financial history, who's processed countless wire transfers to Sarah's account, who's never once questioned why I kept giving money I couldn't afford to lose. And she's genuinely happy for my good fortune. "Thank you, Maria," I say, her smile warming parts of my heart that Sarah's silence had frozen. "I need some help with account records today." "Of course, anything for our newest millionaire." She gestures toward the customer service area. "Let me get Janet to help you. She can access the historical records better than I can." Janet Morrison has been the assistant branch manager for a decade. She recognizes me immediately, though her congratulations feel more professional than Maria's spontaneous joy. Still, when I explain what I need, her customer service training kicks into high gear. "You want copies of every transaction related to your daughter over the past 20 years?" she repeats, fingers already dancing over her keyboard. "Wire transfers, check deposits, account transfers, everything?" "Everything," I confirm, settling into the uncomfortable chair across from her desk. "I need a complete financial history." She pauses, glancing up from her screen with the careful expression banks train their employees to wear when customers make unusual requests. "That's going to be quite extensive, Mr. Miller. Are you sure you need everything?" I think about Sarah's laughter cutting through the phone line like broken glass. "Get a job, old man." "I'm absolutely sure," I tell Janet, my voice steady as stone. "I need it all." The printer behind her desk hums to life 20 minutes later, spitting out page after page of my financial history like a confession machine. Each sheet that drops into the tray represents another piece of evidence in the case I'm building against my own daughter. Janet stacks the papers with practiced efficiency, but I catch her glancing at the amounts as they print. Her professional mask slips slightly when she sees the college tuition payments. $21,250 per semester, every semester for 4 years straight. Never a missed payment, never a delay. "That's quite generous," she comments carefully, the way bankers do when they see financial patterns that don't make sense. "It was," I reply, watching more pages accumulate. Wedding expenses, house down payment, emergency loans that became permanent gifts. The printer doesn't judge, it just documents the truth in black and white. The machine finally stops, and Janet hands me a manila envelope thick enough to choke on. "Everything's organized chronologically," she explains. "Wire transfers, cashier's checks, account transfers, 20 years of transactions, 20 years of love measured in dollars and cents, documented with timestamps and reference numbers. Is there anything else I can help you with today, Mr. Miller?" Her tone suggests she hopes the answer is no. This much financial archaeology makes even bankers uncomfortable. "Actually, yes." I pause at her desk, the envelope heavy in my hands. "I need digital copies, too. Email them to my address and save backup copies on a flash drive." She blinks, probably wondering why a lottery millionaire needs multiple copies of old bank records, but customer service training wins out over curiosity. "Of course. I'll have everything emailed to you within the hour." I walk back through the marble lobby, past Maria's window where she waves goodbye with genuine affection, past other customers conducting normal banking business that doesn't involve building cases against their own children. The Honda starts on the first try this time, as if it senses the weight of evidence in my passenger seat. Back home, I have work to do. Real work that might finally get me the recognition I've been missing for 20 years. Back home, I have work to do. Real work that might finally get me the recognition I've been missing for 20 years. The manila envelope sits on my kitchen table like evidence in a trial that's been 20 years in the making. I clear the photo albums away and spread the bank documents in chronological order, creating a timeline of financial devastation that would make a prosecutor weep with joy. Page by page, the pattern emerges with mathematical precision. $85,000 in college tuition payments over 4 years. Not a single thank you note in my files, but 18 separate requests for emergency spending money during the same period. Spring break trips, sorority dues, a laptop she desperately needed for finals week. $23,000 for her wedding. I find the email chain from that year, Sarah's messages growing increasingly demanding as the date approached. "Dad, we need another $500 for the photographer's overtime." "Dad, the florist wants payment before delivery." "Dad, can you cover the bar tab? It's going to be higher than expected. Never please, never thank you." Just demands disguised as requests, each one chipping away at my savings while she planned the fairy tale wedding where I sat with strangers. But the divorce documents make me physically sick. $8,000 for lawyer fees because she had nowhere else to turn. Her emails from that time are masterpieces of emotional manipulation. "You're the only one who truly cares about me, Dad," one message reads. "Everyone else has abandoned me, but I know you'll be there." "You always are. I'll make this right, I promise. Once the settlement comes through, I'll pay you back with interest." The settlement was $75,000. I never saw a penny of repayment. I photograph every document with my phone, creating digital evidence that can't be lost or destroyed. Each image uploads automatically to 3 cloud storage accounts, creating an unbreakable chain of proof. The emails are the worst part. Page after page of promises she never intended to keep. Declarations of love that came with price tags attached. Assurances of repayment that evaporated the moment her latest crisis passed. 18 separate occasions where "I'll pay you back, Dad" appears in writing. 18 broken promises, each one documented with timestamps and dollar amounts that tell the story of my foolish generosity. I create a spreadsheet on my old laptop, organizing the evidence like a forensic accountant. That last column stays empty, row after row of zeros that add up to the mathematical proof of Sarah's character. The house down payment was the worst. $15,000 plus $3,000 in early withdrawal penalties from my retirement fund. Her email from that week still makes my hands shake with rage. "Dad, you're literally saving our future." This house is going to be our forever home, where your grandchildren will visit you every Sunday. We'll pay you back within 2 years, guaranteed. 7 years later, I've never been invited to that house for Sunday dinner. Hell, I've never been invited for any dinner. My phone buzzes with an email notification. Janet has sent the digital copies as promised, along with a flash drive being prepared for pickup. Professional efficiency from someone who actually keeps her word, unlike the woman I raised to value promises. I save everything to my laptop, then back it up to 2 external drives I keep in different locations. If Sarah wants to play the "what have you done for me lately" game, I'm prepared to show exactly what I've done. Not just lately, but for the past 24 years of her selfish, entitled life. The evidence is overwhelming. The case is airtight. Bank statements don't lie. Email timestamps can't be manipulated. Mathematical totals don't care about feelings or excuses. Now I need more than evidence. I need a strategy that will make Sarah understand exactly what she threw away when she called me a burden. She wanted to treat me like an ATM? Fine. It's time she learned that even ATMs have withdrawal limits. I reach for the phone book, looking for the number I should have called years ago. A good lawyer doesn't just build cases, they execute them with precision that leaves no room for doubt. The yellow pages fall open to attorneys, dozens of advertisements promising justice and compensation. But I don't need someone who chases ambulances or promises miracle settlements. I need James Patterson, the man who helped me draft my will 5 years ago, when I still believed Sarah would be there to inherit something meaningful. His office number is written in my address book, right next to Sarah, daughter, in handwriting that looks more hopeful than it has any right to be. I dial before I can second-guess myself. Patterson Law Office, this is James speaking. His voice carries the same professional warmth I remember, the kind that makes clients feel heard rather than billed by the hour. James, it's Thomas Miller. You helped me with estate planning a few years back. The pause is brief, followed by genuine excitement that catches me off guard. Thomas! Congratulations on the lottery win. I saw your picture in the Forbes article this morning. $15 million, that's incredible. How can I help you today? Even my lawyer is more excited about my good fortune than my own daughter. The irony would be funny if it didn't hurt so much. I need some advice about a family situation. I begin carefully, testing the waters. Nothing criminal, nothing urgent, just exploring options. Of course. Would you like to come in, or can we discuss it over the phone? I glance at the evidence spread across my kitchen table. Bank statements, emails, photographs, spreadsheets. 20 years of documentation that tells the story of systematic exploitation disguised as family love. I think this requires an in-person conversation, I tell him, and I'll be bringing quite a bit of documentation. Absolutely. How's this afternoon? Say, 2 o'clock? Perfect. I spend the next 3 hours organizing my evidence into a presentation that would make a prosecutor proud. 3-ring binders with tab dividers, bank statements in chronological order, email printouts with highlighted promises that were never kept, a summary spreadsheet that reduces 24 years of fatherhood to columns of numbers that don't lie. By 1:30, I'm ready. The evidence fits into a briefcase that belonged to my father, a man who understood the value of hard work and kept promises. He would be disgusted by what I'm about to show James, but he would also be proud that I'm finally standing up for myself. The drive to James's office takes 12 minutes. 12 minutes to rehearse what I'm going to say, to organize thoughts that have been churning in my head for 2 days. 12 minutes to transform from victim to strategist. Patterson Law Office occupies the ground floor of a modest building downtown, the kind of place where good lawyers help regular people without requiring retainers that cost more than cars. The waiting room smells like coffee and leather-bound law books, comfortable and professional without being intimidating. James appears within minutes, his handshake firm and his smile genuine. "Thomas, you look well for a man who just had his life turned upside down by $15 million, he says, leading me into his office. The space reflects his personality. Organized but not obsessive, successful but not flashy. Law books line one wall while family photos occupy his desk. A reminder that some children actually honor their parents. "I wish the lottery was my biggest concern right now," I reply, settling into the chair across from his desk. The briefcase sits heavy on my lap, full of evidence that will either validate my pain or make me look like a bitter old man. James pours coffee from a machine that probably costs more than my monthly grocery budget, then sits back and gives me his full attention. "Tell me what's troubling you." I explain the situation carefully, starting with Sarah's phone call 2 nights ago, and ending with Forbes magazine making me famous while my daughter maintains radio silence. James listens without judgment, taking notes on a legal pad with the kind of focused attention that makes clients feel heard. "Let me get this straight," he says when I finish. "Your daughter refused to help you with $200 for groceries, not knowing you'd just won $15 million, and she still hasn't contacted you despite the media coverage." "That's correct." "And you have documentation of significant financial gifts over the years?" I open the briefcase and slide the first binder across his desk. 24 years worth, $127,000 in total. College tuition, wedding expenses, house down payment, emergency loans, all given freely, none ever repaid despite written promises. James opens the binder and his eyebrows rise as he scans the first few pages. Bank statements don't lie, and the amounts are staggering for a man who worked factory jobs his entire life. "Thomas, this is remarkable documentation," he says, flipping through more pages. "You have grounds for a gift recovery claim if you can prove these gifts were given under false pretenses or with explicit promises of repayment." "Is that what you'd recommend?" He leans back in his chair, studying me with the careful eyes of a lawyer who's seen too many family disputes destroy relationships beyond repair. "What do you want to achieve here? Justice? Money? Reconciliation?" The question hits deeper than I expected. What do I want? Sarah's apology? The money back? Public vindication? Or something else entirely? "I want her to understand what she threw away," I say finally. "I want consequences that match her actions, but I don't want to destroy her. I want to teach her." James nods slowly, and I can see his mind working. "Then we need something more elegant than a lawsuit, something that teaches rather than punishes." James sets down the binder and leans forward, his lawyer's mind clearly spinning through possibilities. "What did you have in mind?" I ask, though I can see he's already formulating a plan. "Tell me, Thomas, what bothers you most about this situation? The money? The ingratitude? The public embarrassment of having your own daughter reject you?" I think about it for a moment, really think. "It's the invisibility," I say finally. "For 24 years, I've been nothing more than an ATM that dispenses love in $20 bills. She only sees me when she needs something. Then I disappear until the next crisis." James nods, making notes. "And now you're visible. Famous even, but she still hasn't acknowledged your existence." "Exactly." He taps his pen against the legal pad, the sound rhythmic and thoughtful. "What if we made your story impossible to ignore? What if we turned your pain into purpose, your experience into a public mission?" "I'm not following." James's eyes light up with the excitement of a man who's just solved a complex puzzle. "A charitable foundation, Thomas. The Thomas Miller Foundation for Family Values. Your mission statement writes itself, supporting elderly parents who have been abandoned or taken advantage of by their adult children." The idea hits me like lightning, illuminating possibilities I hadn't even considered. A foundation. Think about it, James continues, his enthusiasm building. You establish it publicly, with media coverage. Local news loves lottery winner philanthropy stories. You talk about your mission to help parents who gave everything to their children only to be forgotten in their time of need. The elegant cruelty of it takes my breath away. Sarah would see it. Everyone would see it. Oh, she'd see it all right, along with everyone she knows. Her friends, co-workers, neighbors. The entire community would understand exactly what kind of daughter abandons her lottery-winning father. I can picture it now. Sarah scrolling through Facebook and seeing the news story. Her face as she realizes that everyone in town knows about her cruelty. Her friends reading about the foundation's mission and putting two and two together. It's perfect, I breathe. It's completely legal, totally truthful, and absolutely devastating. The best part is that you'd actually be doing good, James adds. This foundation could genuinely help people in similar situations. Your pain becomes purpose. Your experience helps others. He pulls out a fresh legal pad and starts sketching the framework. We'll need articles of incorporation, a mission statement, initial funding commitments. How much were you thinking of dedicating to this? I think about the $127,000 Sarah owes me. Money I'll never see returned. Let's start with $200,000. Seems fitting, doesn't it? James grins, understanding the symbolism immediately. Poetic justice. I love it. He starts writing with the enthusiasm of a man who genuinely enjoys his work. The Thomas Miller Foundation for Family Values mission statement to support elderly parents who have sacrificed for their children only to be abandoned in their time of need. How quickly can we make this official? I ask, watching him sketch out the legal framework with practiced efficiency. Articles of incorporation can be filed tomorrow morning, he replies, not looking up from his notes. The paperwork is straightforward for charitable foundations. Initial funding, board of directors, mission statement. We can have you legally established within 48 hours. The speed surprises me. That fast? Thomas, you're a lottery millionaire wanting to start a charity. The state will fast-track this paperwork like you wouldn't believe. He glances up with a knowing smile. Politicians love being associated with philanthropic lottery winners. I watch him work, marveling at how quickly my pain is transforming into strategy. What about media coverage? That's the beautiful part, James says, setting down his pen. Local news stations will fight each other for this story. Lottery winner starts foundation after being abandoned by family. It writes itself. He reaches for his phone. I have contacts at Channel 7, the Herald newspaper, and 2 radio stations. By tomorrow afternoon, you could be giving interviews about your philanthropic mission. The trap is elegant, legal, and absolutely devastating. By this time tomorrow, everyone in the city will know exactly what kind of daughter abandons her lottery-winning father. Sarah's cruelty will be public knowledge, wrapped in the noble cause of helping other abandoned parents. There's one more thing, James adds, his voice carrying a note of satisfaction that tells me he's thought of everything. We should create a website. Share stories from other parents who've experienced similar treatment. Make it interactive. Let people submit their own experiences. The implications hit me immediately. Sarah's friends could read stories exactly like mine. Exactly. They'll connect the dots without us having to spell anything out. The foundation becomes a mirror where everyone can see Sarah's behavior reflected in the stories of other ungrateful children. I lean back in my chair, feeling something I haven't experienced in years. Power. Not the power that comes from winning the lottery, but the power that comes from being heard, being seen, being valued. How soon can we start? I ask. James checks his watch. It's 3:15 now. Give me 2 hours to draft the initial paperwork. You can review everything over dinner, sign tomorrow morning, and be giving your first interview by tomorrow afternoon. The transformation is remarkable. This morning I was a victim sorting through evidence of my daughter's cruelty. Tonight, I'll be reviewing paperwork that turns that evidence into a weapon of public accountability. I reach for my checkbook, ready to fund the most expensive lesson Sarah will ever receive. The check I write to James Patterson for legal fees is nothing compared to the $200,000 I'll be dedicating to the Thomas Miller Foundation for Family Values. Money that could have been Sarah's inheritance, now transformed into a public monument to her cruelty. James calls me at 8 a.m. the next morning, his voice electric with excitement. "Thomas, I've got Channel 7 News on the line. They want to interview you this afternoon about the foundation. Jennifer Walsh, their human interest reporter, she's practically salivating over this story." That was fast. Lottery winner starts charity after family abandonment. Thomas, this is the kind of story that makes careers. She'll be here with a camera crew at 2 p.m. if you're ready. I look around my cramped apartment, seeing it through a television camera's eyes. Peeling wallpaper, secondhand furniture, the worn Bible, where I kept my winning lottery ticket hidden from the world. The contrast between my modest living conditions and my $15 million net worth will tell the story better than words ever could. "I'm ready," I tell James, and for the first time in days, I truly am. By noon, I've prepared my talking points with the precision of a prosecutor making closing arguments. Every major gift to Sarah over the years, framed not as grievances, but as examples of the kind of generosity the foundation hopes to see reciprocated. The college tuition that funded her degree, the wedding expenses that bought her fairy tale, the house down payment that secured her future. All presented as acts of love that should inspire gratitude, not entitlement. Jennifer Walsh arrives exactly on time, her camera operator in tow. She's younger than Sarah, probably in her early 30s, with the kind of genuine warmth that makes people want to tell their stories. When I explain the situation, her reaction is immediate and visceral. "Wait, let me get this straight," she says, setting down her notepad and staring at me with disbelief. "Your daughter refused to help you with $200 for groceries, not knowing you'd just won $15 million. That's correct. Her professional composure cracks slightly, revealing the personal outrage underneath. And she still hasn't called you, even after the Forbes article went public. Not a word. Jennifer shakes her head, the gesture of someone who can't comprehend such heartless behavior. Mr. Miller, I have to say, as someone who calls her father every Sunday just to check in, this is absolutely shocking to me. Jennifer's genuine emotion validates every feeling I've carried for the past 3 days. It shocked me too, I admit, settling into my worn armchair as her camera operator adjusts the lighting. But it also opened my eyes to how many other parents might be experiencing similar treatment from their adult children. The interview begins with Jennifer asking about my lottery win, the humble lifestyle I've maintained, and the Forbes magazine coverage that made me famous overnight. I answer each question with the calm dignity of a man who's finally found his voice. "Tell me about the phone call," she prompts, her voice gentle but encouraging. I explain the grocery money request, the medication that ran out, the pride I finally swallowed to ask for help. When I repeat Sarah's exact words, Jennifer's face tightens with barely controlled anger. "She called you a what?" "Her personal ATM. Then she told me to get a job and hung up." The camera captures Jennifer's genuine shock, the kind of authentic reaction that makes viewers feel like they're witnessing real injustice instead of manufactured drama. "And this was someone you'd supported financially for years." 24 years, I confirm, pulling out the prepared summary sheet James helped me create. College tuition, wedding expenses, house down payment, emergency loans, $127,000 in documented gifts over 2 decades, all given freely, with promises of repayment that were never kept. Jennifer studies the numbers, her reporter's instincts recognizing a story that goes deeper than simple family drama. These are significant amounts for someone on a factory worker's salary. I sacrificed my own comfort, my own security, my own future to give her everything she needed. I worked double shifts, sold family heirlooms, emptied my retirement account, because that's what parents do for their children. And now? I gesture around my modest apartment, the visual contrast speaking louder than words. Now I have the means to live differently, but I choose to maintain my values. I won't let sudden wealth change who I am. But I also won't let family members treat me like an ATM anymore. The foundation mission statement rolls off my tongue like a prayer I've been rehearsing for years. Supporting elderly parents who have given everything to their children, only to be abandoned in their time of need. Jennifer nods, understanding immediately why this story will resonate with viewers across the city. When will the foundation be officially established? The paperwork was filed this morning, I tell her, the satisfaction evident in my voice. The Thomas Miller Foundation for Family Values is now a matter of public record. The beauty of public filing means everything is transparent, searchable, discoverable. Sarah's name isn't mentioned anywhere in the documents, but the mission statement reads like her biography. Supporting elderly parents who have sacrificed everything for ungrateful adult children who treat them as financial resources rather than family. After the cameras stop rolling, Jennifer lingers to ask follow-up questions that won't make it on air, but help her understand the full scope of the story. "Have you heard from your daughter since the Forbes article?" she asks, packing her equipment. "Not a word," I reply, and even Jennifer seems stunned by the depth of Sarah's indifference. Well, she'll definitely see this story. It airs tonight at 6 and 11. Plus, we'll post clips on our website and social media. Stories like this tend to go viral locally. The interview airs exactly as Jennifer promised. I watch from my kitchen table, the same spot where I spread out 20 years of financial evidence just days ago. Seeing myself on television feels surreal, but the message comes through clearly. I'm a lottery winner who chooses dignity over luxury, family values over material excess. The phone starts ringing before the segment even ends. Mrs. Henderson calls first, her voice thick with emotion. "Thomas, I had no idea what you'd been going through. That sweet girl I remember from years ago, how could she treat you like that?" Frank calls next, then Henry from the factory. Each conversation follows the same pattern. Shock at Sarah's cruelty, admiration for my response, and support for the Foundation's mission. By 9 p.m., I've received 14 calls from neighbors, former co-workers, and people I haven't spoken to in years. Each caller offers the same thing Sarah refused to give: genuine concern for my well-being. The story posts online at 10 p.m., and the comments section fills immediately. Viewers share their own stories of ungrateful children, elderly parents struggling with abandonment, and family members who take advantage of generosity. The Foundation's mission resonates because it addresses pain that runs deeper than individual families. My phone shows 17 missed calls by bedtime, all from local numbers, all from people who want to help or share similar experiences. But still nothing from the one person who should care most. I scroll through the online comments before going to sleep, each one a small validation of the trap I've so carefully constructed. My son hasn't called me in 3 years, but he sure remembers my birthday when he needs rent money. This man deserves better from his daughter, Anyone who treats their parent like an ATM doesn't deserve to be called family. The story has been shared 43 times on social media by midnight. 43 opportunities for Sarah to see exactly how the community views her behavior. 43 chances for her friends, co-workers, and neighbors to connect the dots between the Foundation's mission and her own cruelty. Mrs. Henderson appears at my door the next morning with homemade chicken soup and an apology that makes my eyes water. "Thomas, I've lived next to you for 8 years, and I always wondered why such a sweet man seemed so sad all the time," she says, pressing the warm container into my hands. "Now I understand. That daughter of yours should be ashamed of herself." Her words carry the weight of community judgment, the kind that follows people through grocery stores and church services, coffee shops and school pickup lines. Sarah's reputation is being shaped by strangers who understand basic human decency better than she does. The Herald newspaper calls requesting a follow-up interview. 2 radio stations want to discuss the Foundation on their morning shows. Channel 12. News, Channel 7's competitor, wants their own exclusive angle on the story. "Mr. Miller, this story is resonating with our audience in ways we rarely see," the Herald reporter explains over the phone. "Would you be willing to share more specifics about your experience? Our readers are calling this a wake-up call about how society treats elderly parents. I agree to everything. Every interview, every article, every opportunity to tell my story. Not because I want revenge, but because I want Sarah to understand what she threw away when she dismissed me as her personal ATM. The trap is set perfectly now. The bait isn't just irresistible, it's inescapable. Every news story, every social media share, every community conversation tightens the noose of public accountability around Sarah's actions." I check my phone one last time before bed, knowing what I'll find. Still nothing from Sarah. The silence that once hurt me now serves as perfect evidence of her character. Chapter 7. The Reckoning. Part 1 of 4, 500 words. Tomorrow, the real reckoning begins, but it arrives 12 hours earlier than expected, announced by the violent buzzing of my phone at exactly 7:02 a.m. The screen lights up with Sarah's name for the first time in 4 days. The caller ID that once brought me joy, now carrying the weight of inevitable confrontation. I watch it ring until voicemail picks up, then immediately starts ringing again. 17 missed calls by 7:15 a.m. Each one more desperate than the last, the digital equivalent of pounding on my door with increasing panic. I pour my morning coffee and listen to the voicemails in chronological order, a masterclass in desperation disguised as damage control. The progression is almost theatrical in its arc, from confusion to fear to bargaining. "Dad, it's me. I just saw something on Facebook about a news story. Can you call me back? I'm a little confused about what's going on." Her voice in that first message carries the casual tone of someone who assumes she can manage whatever minor inconvenience has appeared in her perfectly curated life. Message number 4 shows the first crack in her composure. "Dad, people are sharing this story everywhere. My co-workers are asking me questions I don't know how to answer. What exactly did you tell that reporter?" By message number 9, the casual tone has evaporated completely. "Dad, please, we need to talk about this misunderstanding. I think there's been some kind of miscommunication. People are getting the wrong idea about our relationship. Misunderstanding, miscommunication, wrong idea. The language of someone who's never taken responsibility for anything in her life, even when confronted with her own documented cruelty." Message number 14 brings pure desperation. "Dad, I've been getting calls all morning. My boss pulled me into his office because clients are mentioning the news story. Please call me back. We can fix this. Fix this. As if 24 years of taking me for granted could be repaired with a phone call and some strategic spin. The final message, left at 7:47 a.m., strips away all pretense. Dad, I'm begging you. Please call me back. I don't understand what I did wrong. I love you. You know I love you. Please don't let this destroy our family. I set the phone down and sip my coffee, studying the familiar view from my kitchen window. Mrs. Henderson is watering her garden, probably thinking about the chicken soup she brought yesterday and the shame she expressed about Sarah's behavior. Frank is loading tools into his truck, the same man who called to congratulate me and share his own stories about ungrateful children. My phone buzzes with a text message. Dad, I'm driving over. We need to talk face to face. For 24 years, Sarah determined when and how we communicated. She decided when I was worthy of her attention, when my problems mattered enough to acknowledge, when my sacrifices deserved recognition. Not anymore. I turn off my phone and finish my coffee in blessed silence. For the first time in 4 days, I control the communication. For the first time in 24 years, Sarah has to wait for my response instead of expecting immediate attention whenever she demands it. The foundation phone line rings at 8:30 a.m., installed yesterday in my spare bedroom that now serves as headquarters for my new mission. James arranged for a dedicated number that routes to my home, complete with voicemail and call logging. Professional legitimacy for what started as personal pain. Thomas Miller Foundation for Family Values. This is Thomas speaking. Mr. Miller, my name is Dorothy Chen. I saw your story on the news last night. Her voice carries the weight of someone who understands abandonment from personal experience. My son hasn't called me in 2 years, but he sure remembers my phone number when he needs bail money. I spend 20 minutes listening to Dorothy's story, taking notes that will become part of the Foundation's case studies. Her situation mirrors mine with heartbreaking precision. Decades of financial support, broken promises of repayment, and children who view their parents as emergency funding rather than human beings deserving of respect. You're doing something important, she tells me before hanging up. Parents like us need to know we're not alone. The Foundation receives 6 more calls by 10 a.m. Each story follows familiar patterns: adult children who take without giving, parents who sacrifice without recognition, families where love flows only one direction. I document everything with the thoroughness of a researcher building a comprehensive database of familial neglect. At 10:15, Channel 12 News calls requesting an exclusive follow-up interview. Mr. Miller, this story is resonating beyond our usual local coverage. We've had calls from 3 other states asking about your foundation. I agree immediately. Every interview amplifies the message. Every news story expands the community of people who understand exactly what Sarah has done to me. The trap isn't just local anymore. It's regional, potentially national. Can we film at 2 p.m. today? The producer asks. We'd like to focus on the Foundation's mission and the response you've received from other parents. Perfect. I'll have documentation ready. The irony is delicious. While Sarah panics about damage control, I'm expanding the platform that showcases her cruelty. While she desperately tries to reach me, I'm taking calls from strangers who offer more genuine concern than she's shown in years. My landline rings at 11 a.m. I answer without checking caller ID, expecting another Foundation inquiry. Dad, thank God. Sarah's voice cuts through the receiver like a blade. I've been trying to reach you all morning. We need to talk about this misunderstanding. The desperation in her voice is exactly what I hoped to hear. But I'm not ready to let her control this conversation the way she's controlled every interaction for the past 2 decades. Chapter 7. The Reckoning. Part 3 of 4, 500 words. Hello, Sarah. I say calmly, my voice carrying none of the eagerness she expects. I was wondering when you'd finally call. The pause stretches long enough for me to hear her breathing, calculating, probably rehearsing whatever explanation she thinks will make this disappear. Dad, there's been a terrible misunderstanding, she begins, her voice carrying the practiced sweetness she uses when she needs something. I never meant to hurt you. You know I love you. Do I? The question hangs in the air like smoke from a fire she started but refuses to acknowledge. Of course you do. I'm your daughter. We've had our ups and downs, but every family does. Ups and downs. 24 years of taking reduced to the kind of language people use to describe minor disagreements about holiday plans. Sarah, do you remember what you said to me 3 days ago when I asked for help with groceries? Another pause. Longer this time. I was having a bad day at work. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. How did you mean it? I was stressed about money myself, and I spoke without thinking. But Dad, you never told me you won the lottery. If I'd known you had money, I never would have said those things. The honesty in that statement cuts deeper than any insult. She's admitting that her cruelty was acceptable as long as she thought I was truly desperate. Only my wealth makes her behavior inappropriate in her mind. So it's acceptable to treat broke fathers poorly, but millionaire fathers deserve respect. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Sarah? Because I've spent 3 days reviewing 24 years of our relationship, and this conversation is following the same pattern as every other crisis you've created. I can hear her crying now, the tears that have manipulated me countless times before. But today they sound different. Desperate instead of strategic. Dad, people are sharing that news story everywhere. My friends, my coworkers, even my ex-husband. Everyone thinks I'm a terrible person. What do you think? I think there's been a misunderstanding that we can clear up. I think a private family matter got blown out of proportion by the media. Private family matter. Her systematic financial exploitation of my love, documented in bank records and email trails, reduced to a phrase that suggests equal responsibility for what she alone created. Sarah, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I want a direct answer. In 24 years, have you ever thanked me for the $127,000 I've given you? Have you ever acknowledged the sacrifices I made for your education, your wedding, your house? Have you ever kept a single promise to pay me back? The silence stretches so long, I wonder if she's hung up. I always intended to pay you back. Things just got complicated. 18 separate promises, Sarah. 18 documented occasions where you promised repayment. None kept. You're my father. You're supposed to help me. There it is. The entitlement that explains everything, laid bare in a moment of desperation that strips away 24 years of manipulation disguised as family love. And you're my daughter, I reply, my voice steady as stone. You're supposed to love me, respect me, and show basic human decency. Yet 3 days ago, you called me your personal ATM and told me to get a job when I asked for help buying food. I didn't know you had won the lottery. So my worth as your father depends on my bank balance? The question hangs in the air, and for the first time in our conversation, Sarah has no immediate response. The silence stretches until it becomes its own answer. That's not what I meant, she finally whispers. Sarah, I have a Channel 12 interview at 2 p.m. today. They want to discuss the Foundation's mission and the response I've received from other parents in similar situations. I've already spoken to 6 other fathers and mothers who understand exactly what I've experienced. Dad, please don't do any more interviews. People are misunderstanding the situation. What situation is that? Us. Our relationship. You're making me look like a terrible person. I'm not making you look like anything, Sarah. I'm simply telling the truth about our relationship. If that truth makes you look terrible, perhaps you should examine why. I can hear her sobbing now. The deep, gasping cries of someone whose carefully constructed world is collapsing around her. But for the first time in 24 years, her tears don't move me to immediate comfort and concessions. "What do you want from me?" she asks, her voice breaking. "I want you to understand what you threw away when you treated me like a burden instead of your father. I want you to comprehend the weight of 24 years of one-sided love. I want you to feel what it's like to be invisible until someone needs something from you. I can pay you back. I can make this right." With what? Apologies that come only after public embarrassment? Promises that you've already broken 18 times? Money that you'll offer today and forget about tomorrow? Please, Dad. Tell me what to do. Tell me how to fix this. The desperation in her voice is complete now, stripped of all the manipulation and strategic sweetness. This is Sarah without her carefully constructed armor, vulnerable and scared, and finally understanding that actions have consequences. I don't think you can fix this, Sarah. Some things, once broken, can't be repaired with words or money or tears. Are you disowning me? No. But I'm not going to pretend that what you've done is acceptable just because you're sorry you got caught. I hang up the phone gently, not in anger, but in finality. The conversation we should have had 20 years ago is complete, and the foundation interviews are about to begin. My phone immediately starts ringing again, but I don't answer. I have more important calls to make, to people who understand what love actually looks like. The foundation interviews consume my afternoon, each conversation validating the choice I made to transform private pain into public purpose. The Channel 12 interview goes flawlessly. I speak calmly about family responsibility, about the values that seem to be disappearing from our society, about the epidemic of adult children who view their parents as financial resources rather than human beings deserving respect. When someone you've sacrificed everything for won't spare $200 for groceries, I tell the interviewer, it says something profound about our culture. But I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. And I'm choosing to channel that disappointment into helping other parents who understand this pain. The interviewer holds up printed copies of my bank records, the documentation that transforms my story from complaint into fact. "Mr. Miller, you gave your daughter $127,000 over 20 years? "I gave her everything," I reply, my voice steady with the calm of absolute truth. Everything I had, everything I was, everything I dreamed of keeping for my own future. That's what parents do. That's what love looks like. By 5 p.m., my phone hasn't stopped ringing. Foundation inquiries, media requests, and messages of support from viewers who saw themselves reflected in my story. Each call represents validation that my pain wasn't unique, my experience wasn't isolated, my decision to speak publicly wasn't selfish. But at exactly 6 p.m., a different kind of ringing interrupts the symphony of support. My doorbell, pressed repeatedly with the desperate rhythm of someone who refuses to accept that doors can be closed permanently. I look through the peephole and see Sarah standing on my doorstep, her face streaked with tears and her shoulders shaking with the kind of desperate crying that once moved me to immediate comfort and compromise. But today, those tears look different through the lens of documented truth. I open the door slowly, deliberately, maintaining the calm control that has replaced 24 years of eager accommodation. "Dad," she gasps, rushing forward as if to embrace me, but I step back slightly. The gesture is small but unmistakable. The boundaries that never existed in our relationship are being established in real time. Hello, Sarah. For a moment, she looks exactly like the 7-year-old who climbed into my lap after her mother left, promising she'd take care of me when I got old. But that little girl became a woman who called me her personal ATM and told me to get a job when I needed help with groceries. "Dad, you've ruined my life," she sobs, the words tumbling out between gasping breaths. Everyone at work has seen the story. My friends are asking why I'm such a terrible daughter. My ex-husband is using this against me in custody court. I let her finish. Let the silence stretch until it becomes uncomfortable, just like she did to me 3 days ago when I asked for help. The parallel isn't lost on either of us. "I haven't ruined anything, Sarah," I say softly, my voice carrying the weight of absolute truth. "I've simply told my story. If that story makes you look terrible, perhaps you should examine why." She stares at me as if I've become a stranger, and in many ways, I have. The doormat father she's known for 24 years has been replaced by someone who refuses to absorb blame for her choices. "But people are judging me based on one side of the story," she pleads. "What's the other side, Sarah? The side where you thanked me for the $127,000? The side where you kept your promises to pay me back? The side where you showed basic human decency to the man who sacrificed everything for you?" She has no answer because there is no other side. 24 years of documented generosity met with systematic ingratitude cannot be spun or reframed or explained away. "I can pay you back," she says desperately, grasping for the only currency she thinks I still value. "I can make this right. I can be the daughter you deserve." The offer comes 24 years too late, motivated by public embarrassment rather than genuine remorse. If I had never won the lottery, if the Forbes article had never been published, if the foundation had never been established, she would still be treating me like her personal ATM. "You had a chance to be my daughter 3 days ago," I tell her, my voice steady as stone. "For $200, you chose to call me your personal ATM instead." "I was having a bad day at work." "I didn't mean it. Sarah, you've had 18 separate bad days over the past 20 years, 18 occasions where you promised to pay me back, then forgot about it the moment your crisis passed." She stares at me, perhaps finally understanding that this conversation is different from all the others. I'm not negotiating. I'm not accepting excuses. I'm not absorbing responsibility for her choices. "What do you want from me?" she asks, the question carrying genuine confusion. For the first time in her life, manipulation isn't working. "Nothing," I reply, and the simplicity of the answer seems to shock her more than any demand could. "I don't want anything from you anymore, Sarah. For 24 years, I wanted your love, your respect, your gratitude. Today, I understand that wanting something from someone who cannot give it is the definition of futility. So that's it? You're disowning me? No. But I'm not going to pretend that what you've done is acceptable just because you're sorry you got caught." Sarah stares at me for a long moment, perhaps finally understanding that 24 years of manipulation have reached their end. The tears continue, but they carry a different quality now. Not strategic crying designed to change my mind, but the genuine grief of someone who has lost something they never appreciated until it was gone. "I never meant for it to be this way," she whispers. "I know," I reply, and for the first time since she arrived, my voice carries a trace of the father she remembers. "But intent doesn't erase impact, Sarah. Good intentions don't repair 24 years of taking without giving." She turns to leave, then stops at my doorway. "The foundation," she says quietly. "How much has it raised?" $23,000 from strangers who understand what it means to be treated like an ATM by the people they love most. The number hits her like a physical blow. $23,000 in donations from people who see her behavior reflected in their own ungrateful children. $23,000 that could have been hers if she'd shown basic human decency when I needed help with groceries. Sarah leaves my apartment the same way she left my heart over the years, empty-handed, having taken what she could and offering nothing meaningful in return. I watch her drive away from my kitchen window, the same spot where I answered her phone call 3 days ago. But the man who begged for $200 worth of groceries no longer exists. In his place stands someone who understands his own worth, someone who refuses to measure love in one-way transactions. My phone rings, the foundation line, another elderly parent who needs to know they're not alone in this particular kind of heartbreak. I answer on the first ring, ready to listen, ready to help, ready to transform private pain into public purpose. Thomas Miller Foundation for Family Values. This is Thomas speaking. 3 months have passed since that phone call changed everything. 3 months since Sarah drove away from my apartment and my heart in her rearview mirror. 3 months of learning what peace feels like when you stop waiting for people to become who they never were. The foundation has grown beyond anything I imagined that day in James Patterson's office. We've raised $127,000, the exact amount Sarah took from me over 24 years, now transformed into help for parents who understand abandonment from their own ungrateful children. The symmetry isn't lost on me. Dorothy Chen, the first caller after Sarah's visit, now serves as our volunteer coordinator. She understands the mission because she's lived it, watching her son treat her like an emergency fund, while forgetting she's a human being who raised him with love and sacrifice. We've received 42 applications for assistance this month, Dorothy tells me during our weekly meeting in what used to be my spare bedroom, now our official headquarters. Single mothers whose adult children disappeared after college graduation. Fathers who emptied their retirement accounts for weddings where they weren't even thanked. Grandparents who provide free childcare but get excluded from family. Vacations. Each story reflects fragments of my own experience, proof that Sarah's behavior wasn't unique, just unusually well documented. The foundation has become a sanctuary for parents who gave everything and received nothing but entitlement in return. Mrs. Henderson stops by every Tuesday with homemade soup and updates about neighborhood gossip. That reporter from Channel 12 moved into the apartment complex on Elm Street, she tells me, settling into the kitchen chair where I once spread evidence of my daughter's betrayal. She mentions your foundation in half her stories now, says it changed how she thinks about family responsibility. The media attention has been remarkable, but not overwhelming. I've learned to accept interview requests that serve the Foundation's mission and decline those that treat my pain as entertainment. The story resonated because it addressed universal wounds, the kind that cross economic and social boundaries. Your phone's been quiet this week, Mrs. Henderson observes, glancing at the landline that once rang constantly with Sarah's desperate attempts at reconciliation. She stopped calling 2 months ago, I reply, and the admission carries no sadness anymore. I think she finally understood that some doors, once closed, don't reopen. The silence where Sarah's voice used to be has filled with more meaningful conversations. Parents sharing their stories of abandonment and exploitation. Donors who understand the mission because they've lived it. Volunteers who want to transform their own pain into purpose. James Patterson calls every Friday to update me on legal developments. 3 families have recovered significant amounts from adult children who exploited their generosity. 2 others have successfully modified inheritance documents to exclude ungrateful beneficiaries. One grandmother used our legal resources to gain visitation rights to grandchildren she hadn't seen in 3 years. The precedent you set is changing how courts view elder financial abuse, James tells me during this week's call. Your documentation methods are being used as templates for other cases. The irony is perfect. My pain became a blueprint for helping others escape similar exploitation. I've moved the winning lottery ticket from my father's Bible to the Foundation's safe, where it belongs now. Not as a secret to be hidden, but as a reminder that sometimes the greatest gifts come from the most unexpected places. The ticket that could have made Sarah rich instead funds help for parents she'll never meet. People who understand that love should flow in both directions. My phone rings at 6 p.m., the Foundation line. A father in Colorado whose son treats him like a walking ATM. I listen to his story, take notes for Dorothy to follow up, and offer the only thing that really matters, the assurance that he's not alone. "Thank you for doing this," he says before hanging up. It helps to know someone understands. Understanding. That's what I searched for in Sarah's voice for 24 years and never found. Now strangers offer it freely, honestly, without conditions or expectations of financial return. I look around my kitchen, still modest despite my millions, still simple despite my fame. The photo albums remain stacked in the corner, but I don't need them anymore. The past serves its purpose now, fueling help for people who deserve better than they received from the families they sacrificed everything to support. The lottery made me wealthy, but the Foundation made me rich in ways that can't be measured in dollars. Every parent we help, every child who learns accountability, every family that discovers love should be reciprocal. These are the returns that matter. My phone stays silent from Sarah, and that silence has become an answer I can finally accept. Some people take without giving because that's who they are, not because of what they lack. Understanding this difference has been the most liberating education of my life. Tomorrow, Dorothy and I will review applications from parents who need our help. We'll strategize legal approaches for recovering exploited funds. We'll plan the community dinner where Foundation families gather to share stories and support. But tonight, I'll sit in my kitchen where this journey began, surrounded by peace instead of pain, purpose instead of desperation. I'll remember the man who begged for $200 worth of groceries and marvel at how far he's come. Sometimes the greatest revenge is living well and doing good. Sometimes the best response to being treated like an ATM is to help others learn they're worth more than their bank balance. Peace, I've discovered, is better than family who treat you like a transaction.